It was a day like any other in Pompeii on August 24th, 79 AD. The city was alive with activity, people going about their daily business, the markets full of chatter, and the streets bustling with Roman citizens. Unbeknownst to them, just miles away, an ancient giant was waking. Mount Vesuvius, a volcano dormant for hundreds of years, was beginning to stir. The events of the next 48 hours would change the course of history and forever cement Pompeii's place as one of the most tragic yet fascinating archaeological sites in the world. For years, the people of Pompeii and the nearby town of Herculaneum lived in the shadow of Vesuvius. The volcano had been quiet for so long that many of its residents didn't even realize it was a volcano at all. To them, it was simply a mountain. But this mountain was a ticking time bomb. Beneath the surface, immense pressure was building in the magma chamber. And on that fateful day in August, Vesuvius finally erupted. At around midday, a massive plume of smoke and ash exploded into the sky, rising miles above the summit of the volcano. According to the Roman historian Pliny the Younger, who witnessed the eruption from across the Bay of Naples, the column of ash looked like a pine tree, with branches spreading high into the air. This description has been key to modern scientists understanding the type of eruption that occurred, now known as a Plinian eruption, characterized by a massive vertical column of volcanic ash and gas. As the eruption began, the people of Pompeii had no idea what was coming. Many of them carried on with their day, watching the plume of smoke with curiosity. But soon, the sky darkened as ash and pumice began raining down on the city. Panic set in as the ash piled up on rooftops, causing buildings to collapse. The air became thick with toxic gases and breathing became difficult. For hours, the people of Pompeii scrambled to find safety. Some fled the city in an attempt to outrun the falling ash, while others sought shelter in their homes, hoping the eruption would pass. But the eruption was only beginning. By nightfall, the situation had become even more dire. Vesuvius unleashed a series of pyroclastic flows, deadly surges of superheated gas and volcanic debris that raced down the slopes of the volcano at speeds of up to 100 miles per hour. At temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius, the pyroclastic flows instantly incinerated everything in their path. The people of Herculaneum, located even closer to the volcano than Pompeii, had little chance of survival. Many residents had gathered at the city's shoreline, hoping to escape by sea, but the pyroclastic flows reached them before they could flee. Their bodies were later found preserved in the volcanic material, some still huddled together in groups. The situation in Pompeii was equally tragic. By the second day of the eruption, the city was buried under several meters of ash. The weight of the ash had caused the roofs of many buildings to collapse, trapping people inside. Those who ventured outside were quickly overcome by the toxic gases and falling debris. The combination of asphyxiation and the intense heat from the pyroclastic flows claimed thousands of lives. It's estimated that around 16,000 people perished in the eruption, though the exact number remains uncertain. The majority of victims in Pompeii and Herculaneum were buried by the falling ash and pumice, while others were killed instantly by the pyroclastic flows. Remarkably, a few survivors managed to flee the city in the early stages of the eruption, escaping the fate that would befall so many of their neighbors. For 2 days, Vesuvius raged. By the time the eruption finally ended, Pompeii and Herculaneum had been wiped off the map. Both cities were buried under thick layers of volcanic material, and for centuries they were forgotten. Nature reclaimed the land, and the once thriving cities were lost to history. It wasn't until the 18th century that Pompeii and Herculaneum were rediscovered. In 1738, workers digging near the ancient site of Herculaneum accidentally uncovered ruins, leading to the first official excavations. 10 years later, in 1748, excavations began in Pompeii, revealing a city frozen in time. What archaeologists uncovered was astonishing. The thick layers of ash had preserved entire buildings, frescoes, mosaics, and even the bodies of the people who had perished in the eruption. It was as if time had stopped at the very moment Vesuvius erupted. The people of Pompeii had been caught in their final moments, their lives suddenly interrupted by the catastrophic disaster. One of the most haunting discoveries made during the excavation of Pompeii was the plaster casts of the victims. When the bodies of those who had died in the ash decomposed, they left hollow spaces in the hardened material. Archaeologists filled these voids with plaster, creating detailed casts of the people as they were at the moment of their death. The expressions of fear and anguish are still visible on their faces, a powerful reminder of the human cost of the eruption. The eruption of Vesuvius also preserved a vivid snapshot of Roman daily life. Archaeologists uncovered homes filled with everyday items, pots and pans still in place, food left uneaten, and shops that looked as though their owners had just stepped out. Pompeii, in particular, was a bustling city of around 11,000 to 15,000 residents, with public baths, theatres, and even brothels. The remarkably well-preserved frescoes and wall paintings provided a glimpse into the artistic and cultural life of the city. Herculaneum, while smaller and wealthier than Pompeii, was just as well preserved. Unlike Pompeii, which was buried primarily in ash, Herculaneum was buried under a dense layer of volcanic mud and pyroclastic material, which acted as a seal. This mud preserved not only buildings but also organic materials like wooden furniture, food, and even papyrus scrolls, offering a wealth of information about life in ancient Rome. Today, both Pompeii and Herculaneum are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, attracting millions of visitors from around the world. Tourists can walk through the streets of Pompeii, imagining what life was like before the eruption. They can visit the House of the Faun, one of the largest and most luxurious homes in the city, or stand in the ruins of the amphitheatre where gladiators once fought. In Herculaneum, visitors can see preserved wooden beams, ancient Roman baths, and even the remains of a boat that was buried in the volcanic material. Despite the tragedy, the eruption of Mount Vesuvius has provided an unparalleled window into ancient Roman life. The disaster preserved the cities in such a way that we can study them in incredible detail, gaining insights into everything from Roman architecture and art to daily routines and social structures. But Mount Vesuvius is still an active volcano, and the threat of another eruption looms. Modern-day Naples and the surrounding areas are home to millions of people who live under the shadow of the same volcano that destroyed Pompeii and Herculaneum nearly 2,000 years ago. While scientists closely monitor Vesuvius for signs of activity, the lessons of Pompeii serve as a stark reminder of the devastating power of nature. The eruption of Mount Vesuvius and the destruction of Pompeii and Herculaneum is a story of both tragedy and discovery. It's a tale of a natural disaster that wiped out two cities in an instant, but also a story of how those cities were preserved, giving us a glimpse into a world that would otherwise have been lost to history. Today, Pompeii stands as both a testament to the fragility of human life and a celebration of the remarkable preservation that allows us to explore ancient Rome in such vivid detail.